Welcome, Martin, to episode 95.
Nice
A wry
to see you again,
smile.
Dave. It's been a while.
A wry smile, because we've just done this. We're going to do it all over again. How you doing?
Very, very well. Do you know I'm off to Blackpool tomorrow, so I'm quite excited for an ASL tournament. And here's a little statistic for you, okay? Blackpool consumes the most potatoes per head of population than anywhere else in the world.
Wow. Wow, that is a stat.
That is a stat, isn't it?
That
yeah,
is.
And I got that from an American writer as well, an American journalist, Bill Bryson.
Bill Bryson, okay, right. Is that Small Notes from an Island or something? Is it small?
I can't remember if it was from that book, but it was probably from that book. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's a very good book. The wonders of an American trying to figure out all of British's kind of foibles is very good. And the thing is, you learn so much from it.
Yes.
Why is this chap, this foreigner, teaching me all stuff about my country? It's brilliant. Yeah, very, very good. He's those books are absolutely brilliant. The short history of everything, or what it's the big.
Yeah, of course he does one about America as well. The big
big notes from a small something. Oh, I can't remember it. Yeah, but yes, there is another one. Yeah. Well, and the other thing we was going to talk about was the smooth and interesting things to learn about. That we have ways of making you talk podcast, which I've been listening to in the last few weeks, and learning all sorts of interesting things about the battle dresses and why we we did so different styles than the Germans and what that was all about, and including things like the Victoria Crosses. And I learned for D-Day that there was only one Victoria Cross given out, and this man's name.
Well, I only know this because I went on a battlefield tour in Normandy, and the guy we followed in the footsteps of Stanley Hollis, Sergeant Stanley Hollis. Actually, I didn't remember that name the first time that we recorded this. I had to look it up, but I did know about the guy. And I've got to say, I don't think I'd like to have faced him. By all accounts. A frightening figure.
Yeah, so he was a barkeeper, innkeep around the pub. Stormed two German machine gun nests, and was absolutely a very fierce guy.
Yeah.
Years later, refused to shake the hand of Germans at some kind of sort of ceremony or something.
Yeah.
And you had a good story about him.
Yeah. So we were told that he had so many tiny bits of shrapnel in his body that when he was working behind the bar, sometimes pulling pints and running around getting people drinks, that there'd be trails of blood behind him where the shrapnel had worked its way through his foot. I mean, this is a hard man. This is a man who doesn't stop working behind the bar.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's scary, isn't it? Scary. And it was interesting because on the podcast they talk about why things like D-Day, which was a huge operation compared to something like Rorke's Drift, which it pales in significance in terms of size of numbers and things like that. But why there were so many more medals and Victoria Crosses awarded at Rorke's Drift, and it's more because the medals are given in glorious defeat rather than generally perceived as good successes, and D-Day being something where you were not all about the individual, it was more about the team effort and the whole thing. Really, really quite interesting. So we have ways of making you talk is an amazing podcast, short, kind of half an hour episodes, much more insightful than you and I blathering on. But it did make me realise, and I was talking to my kids recently about how far ago 1990 was. And of course, 1990 wasn't that long ago. And then I realised that 1990 to me is exactly the same as when I was born to the war, 30 years ago. And it's kind of scary how recent 1990s or the 1990s were to me. And yet, when we think of the war, how far away it was. So when we're looking at, for example, our parents' view of the war when we were being born and things like this, it really wasn't that long ago. And I think this is part of we in the initial conversation we had about this, talking about the not the demise of ASL by any stretch, but certainly we are, I think, on the decline now in terms of new players coming into the hobby, which is a big shame. But there is just not such much of a pull for a war game as there were, maybe sort of 20, 30 years ago. And that's perhaps what we're seeing is now, kind of the dying embers. And I was making the point last time, it's a bit of a shame really, because third parties' capabilities have become really quite good. You know, you're seeing
Yeah.
brand new third parties coming in and producing in terms of the quality of the materials and the graphics and the, you know, to a lot of extent the high quality of scenarios that we've seen from both third parties and from MMP,
Yeah.
you know, has really done, you know, amazing.
Mm.
And it's such a shame in a way, I think, that ASL isn't mainstream, because it's I mean, it doesn't really matter. Well, you and I would just still be playing, even if the world was playing, and
Yeah.
ASL street parties and things. You and I just have a game. But yeah, so it's I
I mean,
think
it'd be great if there were things like Britain's got ASL talent on TV, wouldn't it? Or America's got ASL talent.
look at the way this
Kids talking about it on their way to school.
Yeah.
Oh, did you watch ASL talent last night?
they do with this podcast. So what we're going to do today, we're
Yeah.
going to talk about Sainte-Mère-Église,
Yeah.
our day one campaign. Campaign's nice and straightforward, isn't it? There's, I think, three days in the campaign. We've got one night scenario.
It occurred to me, because I was talking to Alex a little while ago about what would be a good first campaign game to play. And this didn't occur to me because I was having the conversation before we played it. But actually, this wouldn't be an awful first.
Yeah.
I mean, people always say Pegasus Bridge, don't they? 'Cause it's
Yeah,
quite-
and we talked about this last time. I think I was saying
Yeah, we
either
did. Sorry,
Singling or
yeah.
Decision at Elst, I think, are probably
Yeah.
better ones. But only because you have got this night one coming out. If you were a solid ASL player, then I think
Yeah.
absolutely. But yeah, probably Pegasus Bridge or something like that. But it's not difficult by any stretch. I think it's quite replayable, because you have the strategic objectives, and we'll talk about that as we.
It's a very manageable scale as well. I mean, we played it. I think we might have played it in 2 sessions, but you could certainly have played it in a day.
Yeah.
I think that first
Oh
campaign game.
yeah, absolutely. It was just a
yeah.
medium-sized scenario, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we've got some Toby's tips coming up as well. So we're going to talk about that. And finally, we're going to talk about a new feature I've added to the scenario archive. And this is one that, Martin, you do not need, but people like me and people like Rob, who kind of suggested but kind of asked about it and didn't know that he was asking for a feature request, even though he was asking for a feature request. We're going to see. So have a think about what you.
Very intrigued.
Yes.
Because of course I heard that clue the first time we recorded this, and I still am nowhere nearer to understanding what it might be.
Okay, so what you got to think about is when people log games against you. Okay.
Right. Okay.
For example, people might log a game against Dave Ramsey or David Ramsey, and if you are someone that doesn't log your games in the Scenario Archive, but it would be in theory relatively straightforward for you to try to find games against you, although there's no feature at the moment to do that. You could potentially find games that have been logged against Martin Barker, and then you could see them, and that would be relatively straightforward. But what I've done is added a feature that lets you find, based on an alias, a set of aliases: Dave Ramsey, David Ramsey, D Ramsey, whatever it might be. So people like Rob can put Bob Smith, Rob Smith, whatever it might be, and they can then list all the games that people have logged against them in the same list, so that then they can see, even if they haven't been logging their games.
So you say this isn't useful to me, but actually I've logged about 2 games on the archive.
Yes, you're right.
Really. But I could search for all the games that I played against that you've logged against me.
Yeah.
And just sort of like log them.
Yeah. So you don't even have to log them. So because on your
logged.
exactly that, on your my page right now, they will be there. So we'll go through that and we'll have a look. So that's that. But on to Sainte-Mère-Église. All right, Martin. So I am the Germans. You are the Americans. Do you want to try and talk to us about this scenario and this campaign game?
Okay, right. So the victory conditions. So obviously we got 3 dates. We're only playing the first one today, but the Germans win immediately by controlling the building SAZ13, which is the double hex building with a cross on it, next to the German sniper counter. Yep, that's it. Okay. At the end of any campaign game date, or at the campaign game end, Sorry. At the end of any campaign game date, you win by controlling that building, or at the end of any campaign game, at the end of the campaign, by having units with line of sight to and within normal range of the SAJJ 14 to FAT14 road.
Yeah, it's the big straight
capable
one
of
down the
applying-
middle.
Yeah. So basically 15 firepower, including weapons, but disregarding rate of fire, triple point blank fire, etc. on that road. So the Americans need to push you away from that road, although they're not attacking at the beginning, or by having greater than or equal to, having greater or equal to 14 more victory points calculated as exit victory points worth of multi-man counters on the SA map section and within 5 hexes of the non-gully level -1. So that's basically the village you can see there. So yeah, having greater than 15 victory points there than the Americans have at the campaign game end would also be a German victory.
Yeah. So this
It seems to me there's quite a few ways for the Germans to win.
Yes, it does. I think the likelihood is if you've got more than 15 points in that gully area, as the Germans, you're probably going to take the building in the middle. So it's really about whether you are going to try and clear. I think the idea is I'm just going to storm into this place, and if you haven't cleared me off, but I haven't quite taken the building, but I've got people on the road, I'm going to win. So you've got to really clear that road, and you've just got to get into that building and hold me off. Really, I think.
Yeah,
that's the.
So it's interesting. The second campaign game, a lot of forces come from the right-hand side as we're looking at it. A lot of Americans come from that side.
That's
and
right.
The German attack begins from the left-hand side.
That's right.
That's the second campaign game day. Yeah.
But you do get some reinforcements today that are coming on the right-hand side.
That's right. Yeah.
So I'm getting
squeezed. It becomes a wild melee.
Yes, it does. In terms of my troops, I have a whole bunch of 447s and I have a whole bunch of conscripts. I think it's something like about eight or so each, something like that. I have heavy. I've got a couple of mortars. I have set this mortars up wrong, by the way. I'm supposed to have at least 2 guns on this hill, and I didn't read that that time. So I've got 2 mortars down here. Now there's also another special rule for the first campaign day. It's going to be 5 or 6 turns, and I have the ability to, rather than prep fire the mortars, I can roll to hit, and as long as I don't get a malfunction, I can continue to fire without react fire though against the town, and it's not a hit, but I just check up a number, and if I get to 10 shots, I think I take 1 point off of your. I think you get 3 points, do you, or two or 3 points you're going to get. I think you roll for it at the end for reinforcement points.
That's right. Yeah.
So I have a decision to make whether I either use the mortars for that or to try to help clear out the Americans.
Yeah,
and the risk
it's quite impactful actually, because when the Americans do their purchases, there's basically 3 columns, and so if you can get me down, one thing, I just get less stuff. So it could be quite impactful. Yeah.
That's right. So now I'm not sure I particularly enjoyed this rule, as we'll see. But there's a couple of things here. One is that it's a variable turn length. We don't know if it's going to be 5 or 6 turns. I think that's right. Is it 5 or 6 or 6 or 7? I can't remember if I get the 7th turn or the 6th turn. But it's one. I think there's one extra turn that might come along. And also there's this problem of if I malfunction the mortars, then I can't. Let's say, for example, I waste them, but I spend 7 shots to try and tick this up to 10 shots. If I get one malfunction that I can't repair, then not only have I lost my mortar, but I've also lost all the effects previously.
Yeah, that's true. Which actually, in a sense, multiplies the risk of a double 6.
Exactly,
doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's that. I understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, but I don't know. I'm not sure. Anyway. We have some cows as well. Now you'll see that I have strategically put these in bad positions because I set them up and then read the rules about cows, which is a very us thing to do. Cows cannot cross bocage hex sides. So
which
these
is crazy,
cows,
isn't it? Crazy.
These cows, unless they're going to go home and back again, are kind of stuck. These ones will have an effect though, and these ones again are also stuck. The other thing to mention is the strategic objective points. Now, we put these out not really understanding what we were doing with them, but just kind of put them out in places. These actually, and I kind of lucked in on a couple of these, but these lucked in terms of where I might be able to make progress in terms of it gives you a strategic point to be able to draw a perimeter to if you capture. And that's quite useful. You have your heavy machine gun sat in this area here that I think is down at level 1, that I think should be at level 2. And
it is a level 2. It looks like level 1. Yeah, it's it's not brilliantly placed actually, because it's a long way away from the Germans at the beginning.
Yeah,
and as you approach, of course, it's harder to see them because of the shadow cast by the hedges and the buildings.
Right, exactly.
I didn't want to lose it, so he's up there.
Yeah, that's fine. And I've got a little token force back here. We've got 2 anti-tank guns, one facing the rear here and one facing forward, which is not. I mean, this AA gun isn't probably going to do the right thing up here. And I've got one, the little 47Ls, pointing this way to try and stop you. Coming blazing
racing up the road.
But I mean, I don't think this guy's going to do very much against your Shermans that are going to come on. We've got the Martyrs down here, and the Martyrs, the idea is they're going to help kind of put some support down here. Problem with the Martyrs, as always, they don't have a lot of HE rounds, and so that will deplete fairly quickly, I would imagine.
And you can't see it at the moment because it's hit, but there's a roadblock in JJ14. It's a double roadblock. In fact, I can unhip it. People see that?
Yep.
So that's a little bit in the way for the Martyrs as well, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's placed there by SSR. It's it wasn't my placement.
Yeah, and I do have 100mm OBA as well.
Yes.
So, right, this is a tricky map to try and give you a big insight of where everything's going on here, but we'll try and show you what's happening. So,
I love how you're lined up there like that. It's just ready to go.
Line abreast kind of formation. So the first thing I do is try and get the OBA down, and it is wildly inaccurate. And I also fire the mortars at your troops to start with. So the option, what I decided to do was take one shot with them, and then I would spend the rest of the game trying to add the points. The cows realise they can't come across the bocage at the top, so they're left behind, and we start pushing forward into the Normandy fields.
Bocage.
Yeah, there you are.
I've got to try and remember to say that correctly today.
So the first 6 I get breaks the small mortar. So that's going on there. You have a little bit of repositioning. You've got a 9-1 here with a medium machine gun, which now has become a heroic wounded 9-2. All sorts of stuff going on there. And that's a little bit awkward because he's quite nicely placed there.
Yeah.
So now I'm firing the mortars at the town. So I'm not actually firing them on the board to try and increase the points, or into the gully up here.
It's very menacing. There's a lot of German. There's a lot of blue there.
There are, but a lot of these are conscripts, and so they're they're a little bit slower. And it's not.
I certainly feel straight away weak on the flanks, particularly that one at the bottom, the southern flank.
Right. For the prep firing of the mortar here, I think is because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so I think that at this point I've decided I'm going to go for the shots in the. I think it's the defensive fire shots rather than the prep fire shot. I think.
The prep fire shots are the ones that count for the special rule.
Yeah, and it's not clear if you roll and you mouth the mortars whether or not you are going to be allowed to count that as a shot against the town. So strict reading of the rules suggests that it does. Basically, it says if you take the shot, you can do it, but the only effect is malfunction, no rate of fire. So, but obviously you can use them for defensive fire still. So this is kind of what I'm planning to do, is use them as defensive fire and then prep them against.
There's a bit of me terrified of your OBA and a bit of me hoping that you bring it down.
Yeah, this is my run of an 11 double six, double six, double six.
Actually, you did hardly moan about it at all at the time,
Oh,
Dave.
jeez. And this is where I get frustrated with ASL, because that was all quite awful. I think, in terms of, I think I can't remember what I broke. But was it the machine gun and a?
It was definitely the machine gun.
It was the machine gun. It was the mortar for the thing. It was, the machine gun here, and it stops me pretty much getting the 5 points or the 10 points.
Makes it very difficult now, doesn't it? You've got to repair it.
You've got to repair it. But ASL is a cruel mistress, so maybe she'll allow me to repair it. Maybe she won't. We'll see. So pushing in, the cows are coming running up the road. This was I quite enjoyed running down the road with these cows. You're not taking shots.
And they're only conscripts, I think, aren't they?
No,
it's a half squad. Second line half squad.
Yeah.
I mean, the only reason I don't fire at them is not because they're protected by cows.
No, you didn't want to hurt the cows, did you? So the cows are quite a nice rule. They take the KIA shots. They get a little +1 to so I'm able to get under the gully. The Marder are up for close support here. And meanwhile, we are going to try to repair this mortar for.
Beautiful line there. That looks just beautiful, the way you advance them all there into that lovely line.
It's easy when it's against one 747. It's not so easy when you get the next line of quite strong defence here. Oh, this is again one of those things where I'm playing as if every one of these units is real. I think there are some dummy counters, but I don't know.
I think they're a small number. I think you're right to basically be playing as though they're all real.
Right. So there's the mortar has repaired itself, which is a big deal.
Yeah. And in fact, now you can get the points.
As long as the game goes on for the extra turn, I'm able to do it. So
it's very, very difficult when you've got juicy shots to know whether to take them,
right,
or fall back.
Yep.
Really the safest place is, a wall of green in that town.
Yes.
It's very tempting to take these shots. You see, I took quite a lot.
Yes, I've caught one of your dummy units here. So you've lost. So you're actually quite weak down the bottom here.
Yeah, very much so.
The radio, I've decided I'm not going to waste this turn. I'm going to keep it for tomorrow. So I'm just going to kind of maybe put down some spotting rounds and try and get you to run, but I'll try and preserve if I can.
Got a broken American squad there at the top.
Yep. Yeah. So we've got some German brokens, but some you're still quite strong up here, and it is quite difficult to make some progress. So you're pulling back into the town. I'm still in trouble here. You got a fanatic
and a hero.
Another blow to the Germans. But you've held the line quite nicely here. So it's all looking okay. I get a double one, which we think is great, and then I realise it's actually disrupted. And I get a berserk sword as well.
Always interesting.
Berserk guy is running.
Yeah.
Gets into close combat. So does his job. The cows have made it to the first building as well.
And I think we can have a melee there as well.
Yeah. So here's one of my objectives I found, and got to my objective. Your reinforcements aren't on just yet.
Turn. They're coming on next turn, I think.
Yeah.
But it's I start to take a few casualties as well, and every one feels like a hole in the line.
Yes.
It kind of feels like you haven't quite got enough as it is, I think.
Yeah. The disruptions are hurting though for the conscripts.
Yeah.
Here we've got a bit of a standoff here between your one concealed squad here and I've got 3 conscript guys, and I can't quite work out how to take this.
Yeah.
And this is what we were talking about a little bit before, about how now knowing how the end of the campaign day works, it's actually worth pushing into this area.
We start at this point really thinking about strategic locations for the
right.
first time, don't we? And even these little flanks, which seem like a minor thing, actually is quite significant, whether
That's right.
you gain strategic locations or
That's
not.
right.
Yeah.
I get to 6 points on the mortar. The mortar's firing, so they need just 4 shots to have that effect on you.
Yeah.
We're gonna push in. We've kind of taken the first building.
Yeah.
We're pushing up.
Yeah, you won the melees, didn't you? So you got the further group buildings there, the little group in front of the village, the town.
Berserk guy's got his stuff. And let's just load the next day, or the next continuation.
But now you're starting to look messy. Do you know, like that perfect line of like, you know, all the fire groups and everything. It looks looking a bit more messy.
That's right.
But I've lost a few units, and I'm kind of having to think really about how to get back there. But of course, we're bringing on these guys now. Now, I make a bit of a mistake with the rules, don't I? Because I think that strategic locations are wherever there's a tank, and it's immobile vehicles, isn't it?
That's right. Which is quite an interesting thing, isn't it? Because it makes sense in a way that was the focus point of a. But but you start throwing your vehicles around
to try and gain strategic
to get the
create the strategic locations, but of course they're not.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. So some prep firing going on. You going for this kind of like every 3 hexes.
Yes.
You're trying to get or 6 hexes because you think between 3 and 3.
Yeah.
On come the Shermans at the back here.
I think road junctions are, aren't they? But
I mouth the gun. I don't think it's going to do it.
You see, I'm surprised I prep fired all of that line. Like thinking about it now, I'd feel much more comfortable with them going back to the next hedgerow.
Right,
but
right.
It
wasn't huge. You weren't facing huge faces. So this one now is we were out of HE on the Marders.
Yeah, of course you were.
And so they're kind of now resigned to tank defense duty.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we're you're pulling back here. The conscripts are kind of pushing in. At the top, we kind of got you a little bit worried here.
Yeah, definitely.
And this is where looking now, places like I'm looking at DDA right at the top of the board, towards the middle near your broken guy. Is where a nice strategic location would have been, because that would have helped me get that perimeter right over here.
Yes.
But instead,
and in fact, because we're being a bit vague with the rules at the moment, is we missed that the roads are also strategic locations where they enter the board.
Right. Yes. Out of 3, where there's 3 connections. So here with I think on the last, so I've got I'm on 8 points. Yeah. And I think I've just broken my mortar.
Yeah.
So
I distinctly remember you don't make it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of frustrating, because that's been like all game of using them in that instance to now break them again. I think the leader gets killed with the radio by a sniper, and the game ends very soon. We've got
not quite. I think I get another turn.
I think I'm just getting some strategic objectives markers out. So the Marders get sent back. To go help defend. You destroy my my port.
Interesting. You can see straight down that road against moving targets, can't you? By special rule, but not those, because you've got I'm on the hill. But
yes. Yeah, exactly.
I feel like I'm solidifying in the south a little bit, pushing forward on the right.
Yeah, it's a very disjointed attack now, isn't it? For me.
Yeah. Got a few brokers, but they don't matter with it near the end of the scenario.
That's right. So this is a good example down here where I really should have just pushed in. If they break, they'll be okay for
Yes.
the next
Yeah.
turn.
Yeah.
And the campaign day ends, I think, here.
I think
Oh
it's
no,
just
sorry,
finished.
finishes now.
Yeah.
We're about to finish it.
Yeah, we're counting up now.
Yes, so you'll see us kind of draw parameters probably
Yeah.
incorrectly, but we start and you'll get an idea for what we think is what's going on.
Yeah.
It's kind of quite fun. You reminded it looked like a game of Snake.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I used to love that game when I was a kid. It's mind you, it was a bit before they invented better games than Snake, wasn't it? to be fair.
Yeah.
And I think, and I was kind of conscious of this, but I didn't quite have it right in my head. But it's the strategic locations and playing for them is the key thing in a campaign game,
Yep.
especially a campaign game like this. Because sometimes you kind of half capture territory, but it means nothing because you've not captured any strategic locations. I mean, this
Right.
is a very good example of that, isn't it? I mean, I think they become isolated, so you can't reinforce troops that are in a pocket.
Right.
But if they're not actually like surrounded, then I think it's not that big a deal.
Right.
But look, I've lost all of the places I thought I was gaining.
Yep.
On the east side, so I'm going to end up having to set up in that in one of those sort of little clusters.
Right. And I did lose. I felt a disproportionate amount of guys trying to come back to the lines. There was I think you've got to roll maybe an 8 or 9 or something higher, and you lose the guys or the cash reduce. And I did lose a lot of guys as well from that. So
you were unlucky with that, but at the same time, we were only very vaguely aware of how the mechanics would work at that point, wasn't it? I think both of us. Yeah. I mean, it feels now, if you look at my 747s, there's stacks of them, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
But the thing is, I can't reinforce that group in the second campaign game date. My reinforcements come from the east and from the air. But they have to land, on the east side of the board. So,
but this is not a fair fight right now. Now I've got guys here, like you say, coming on the left-hand side. But it looks tough. I mean, you've got 8, 10. I mean, you've got maybe 20, 747s there. Up against,
and they're brilliant close range. If I set them up in the village, in stone buildings, I mean, you've got the woods, the bocage to help you. But it's I think it's going to be tough, isn't it? It's tough for you to take the town, but I'm the one who's got to take the road. Right,
that's true. Yeah. So, and then the last thing was I rolled the worst number for the number of campaign points I'm going to get as well. So, so I've got the fewest campaign points to spend as well. So it's been a tough, the longest day, Martin, the longest day. But we will persevere. It doesn't feel good for me right now, but I do have the OBA still. But I just have a lack of leadership, and obviously I'm able to buy leaders now. I do obviously have more campaign point things that I was able to spend to buy things like whether you set up first or I set up first. I think you're setting up first. I'm setting up second. I'm going first. You are going second. So those things are in my advantage. So I'm going to say it's all to play for the next one. We're gonna get through it probably next week at some point. So we will catch up there and see how we're getting on. But it's been good fun. It's a nice map.
A lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a very good map.
Yeah.
And this campaign game date is on the same day that Stan Hollis won the Victoria Cross.
Oh, excellent! Oh, wow. Okay. There you go.
Because everything's tied together seamlessly in our episodes.
Yes. It's take a lot of effort to plan that. Very, very good though. Very good. So I've enjoyed it, and it's a good map to look at. Someone mentioned I should have gone to Denon when I was in Belgium. I don't know kind of close how close. Let me quickly have a look how close Denon was from Lamel. I was kind of stuck in Centre Parks, and I wasn't able to really do very much. So I couldn't get out there. It was a 2-hour drive. I wouldn't have been allowed a 2-hour drive.
Yeah, it's probably nearer in when you're at home. Yeah.
But yeah, I should do that. Right. Okay. Let's take a look at the new feature of. Oh, let's do the Toby's tips first. First of all,
Toby's tips. Okay.
Okay. So take it away, Toby. Who's going to talk about surrendering and why you should take prisoners?
Mm-hmm.
Today, I want to look at some ways to reduce your enemy's OB, basically destroying units. And there's 2 parts to this, and we'll do part 1 today. And one way to reduce your enemy's OB is by taking prisoners. Then you've got less and less squads available to oppose you. And I've got 3 things to say that sort of go up, as it were, in complexity. And the first one is reasonably basic. And it's a sort of a straightforward thing, really, which is don't be afraid to take prisoners, okay? I think lots of players don't take prisoners, just go, oh, declare no quarter, declare no quarter. And there's 2 reasons for that. One is they can't be asked to read the rules. What's going to happen if I break, I don't want to go into close combat. Can't be asked. No quarter, right? And the second is they are overly afraid of if they break, what if the prisoner rearms and kills me, and so on and so forth, or a sniper takes them out. And I would just encourage courage, basically. Be brave. Take prisoners. If you're not sure on the rules, read Jim Bishop on his website. Just Google prisoners, Jekyll, and take the time to read that. And if you can't be bothered to do that, then you don't deserve to win many more games. Read his damn article. Don't be scared of taking prisoners, and you will discover that you win more games. Okay, so that's the basic sort of principle, really. Secondly, one thing I've already encouraged people to do is to say, if you're attacking, you've got AFVs, encircle. Try to do it as much as you can. And if you do encircle units, you will discover as a consequence that more units offer their surrender. And as I say, if you're courageous and sensible enough to take those prisoners, your opponent's forces will melt away faster, encouraging more victories. Okay? And the third thing is, and this is more of a sort of adept level, chess level tactic that requires more thought, is look at interdiction. So this is the bit where you have to sort of look beyond the current turn, beyond the current phase, and think, okay, if that unit breaks, or there's a unit that's already broken, okay, can I get a half squad up to him to take prisoners? But also, how do I interdict his route paths? And again, it's much easier to do if you have AFVs that have managed to get behind your opponent. So again, read the interdiction rules. But this requires a bit of thought. And if you can start interdicting troops as you encircle them, or rather, you've encircled them and the unit that encircled them is hopefully going to interdict, then you again multiply the amount of prisoners you take. It goes without saying that you should take prisoners in building control scenarios anyway, but generally speaking, take more prisoners. Don't be afraid. As I've said, you don't morally fail by not encircling when you're attacking, and add in to your armory, your personal repertoire of tactics, thoughts about interdiction, thinking that bit ahead. And that's it. And next time we'll look at destroying units, eliminating for failure to rout.
Okay, Martin. So what do you think about taking prisoners? Are you going to take more?
Yeah. So there is a little bit of weighing up, isn't there? Like there are situations where it's not so good to take prisoners, but I agree with Toby that very often people are lazy, myself included. It's easier not to take prisoners, to declare no quarter early on, isn't it? But I remember when the first game me and you played against him, which he used all these little British vehicles, little armoured cars to
kangaroos, yeah.
They were kangaroos, indeed. That's right. To encircle us, and of course cut off escapes and routes and stuff like that. So definitely something I should try harder at. Yeah, and I'm playing him in Blackpool on Thursday.
How
So
often?
the tournament.
Okay, so do you know you're attacking, aren't you? So that's.
I'm going to be attacking him. Yeah.
How often do prisoners come back and bite you in the bottom? Like sometimes I think I worry about taking them, but it's so rare. I think maybe in 2 games of all the games I've played, it's not often, is it, that we have?
No. There's a few steps, and you've got to break for some reason, and you can keep your guards safe potentially, can't you? They got to break. Then you've got to pass the 6 sort of task check, haven't you?
Yep.
And then you've got to win the close combat with pretty poor odds, really.
Yeah, usually though you are up against broken guys.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So
yeah.
it's not quite as bad as that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hear you.
But there is nothing worse than watching the prisoners rearming over the dead bodies of your guys.
Yeah, you definitely can lose a scenario, but I don't think it's happened to us. Yeah. But yeah, it's anyway. All right, okay. Let's have a look at the new feature on the scenario archive. So this is obviously the archive today, and if we take a look at your My page, you will see you have an alias section now that should be filled in with your first name and surname.
It is.
And so you can change that, and you can add, if you separate with commas, you can add more aliases. So for example, Dave and Dave Ramsey, I could put D Ramsey as well in here, whatever.
Yeah.
And the idea then...
People have nicknames and stuff, don't they? Do capital letters make any difference?
No, it's going to be case sensitive.
Yeah.
And then what will happen is if you scroll down to your games played, you'll see that any grey games are games that have been added by somebody else under your name. So you'll often see, for example, here against Dave Maresca, he's logged the same game that I have, and one of us should have marked this as a duplicate, because if they're marked as duplicates, then you won't see their game. That's the kind of game. Now obviously if I mark it as a duplicate and he doesn't mark it as a duplicate, you are going to see both of these, because this shows you all of your games and the non-duplicated games that your opponents have entered. So there might be a slight double counting there. It's a little bit tricky to get that exactly right. So there's what you can see. You can view but obviously not edit the games that other people have logged. So if I want to see what was said here, we can talk about what was happening. Obviously I can't save it, but I can see the game itself. And the last thing to mention is that you can have and see all the duplicates that people have entered. So this is not checking whether the game has been duplicated. So there might be some extras here, but again, that may end up double counting. So you might see some. What I'm going to do next, because it isn't there right now, is if we click into the scenario, you actually don't see the games that have been logged by other people. That will get added at some point. So you'll see the games that other people have added that have been played against you here. So you can just see to make sure that if
what's fantastic from my point of view is I've not really logged any games, and there are millions of games here logged with me on them.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So
obviously, mostly you, but by no means all. There's people here I forgot existed.
Right. Yeah. Good stuff. And so in theory, your graph is all correct as well. I don't know, just double check, because you'll be the one you're a good test case for this. But do you now have a nice graph showing the number of games across each year? Has that worked?
Yeah. So it's all 2007 at the moment, I think.
Okay. All right. So maybe that's got to be fixed. But anyway, that's kind of the idea, and you'll get a glimpse of that. So that's that. Not that one. This one. Right. So anything else, Martin? Good luck, obviously, for the tournaments.
Thank you.
We will start the next Eliminated Rounds tournament in January. We'll think of a theme. We'll do that. I have sent Assad his runners-up prize. I have sent, or Ian has sent Dave Maresca his prize. We're almost... Oh, obviously, we have... Because both players had the deluxe thing, which is what Jim kindly donated as a prize. That's right. We have a copy of the deluxe pack, the MMP deluxe pack. So we need, I guess that will roll over. We won't do a deluxe themed scenario competition next year, but that will roll over to, maybe we'll do that as the highest placed player that doesn't have a deluxe game. I don't know. We'll think of something to give that away. Or if you can think of something in between time, Martin, that we can give it away to Patreon, perhaps. I'm happy to do that. If we can, perhaps that's a better idea. Maybe we'll do that.
Yeah.
So next time we'll do a competition or something for a Patreon giveaway. And anything else?
I don't think so. No, I'm going to go and pack my
pack your things.
my clothes now.
Yeah.
My gaming stuff. Well, I mean, I need one pair of socks, one t-shirt.
I also want to talk about next week or the week after the 3D printing and ASL. I'm going to talk about because I have my 3D printer now. So we're going to talk about, and you can see it. You can't quite see it. It's behind me somewhere. So we're going to talk about what cool stuff can you print for 3D printers for ASL. There must be a few of us now that have 3D printers. So
certainly are. I mean, you see people online, showing off their creations.
Yeah, I saw one guy get his entire counter collection into one, those 4 boxes of Racco, with the handy.
Yeah.
Now he had to print some crazy stuff to sit on top of it, but it's spectacular. He done an amazing job. Yeah. So we'll take a look at that as well. But if you got ideas about what to 3D print, other than just kind of these rascals, let us know, and we'll take a look at the world of 3D printing and ASL. Until then, Martin, good luck on the tournament.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure you'll do us proud. You'll represent us.
I'll give you an after action report when I get back.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
All right then. Okay, buddy. Take it easy. See you soon.
Take care now. Bye bye.
Bye bye.